There is always this question about search for wholeness and meaning of life. And the first question that comes to mind is, who is this person who is searching for meaning of life? Because any meaning, any answer that we come across in terms of the meaning of life would be a concept. Now, we all have our own views. We all see our own meaning in things in life. And it depends on the it depends on the circumstances that one is in. So if one is leading a spiritual life, the meaning and purpose could be to help others in some way and to attain something, some enlightenment or something. If one is on a material path, the usual worldly path, then the meaning could be to, just do well in your work and take care of your family and things like that. But you see, this whole search for meaning actually changes from time to time, if you notice. Because when you are a kid, when you're small, your notion of meaning is very limited. So the only purpose then is to play, is to have this playfulness, enjoy yourself, meet friends, have fun. When we grow up, we get some more concepts. We read, we learn, we are taught. We are taught by our loved ones, by people around us, by our teachers, by our relatives. And then we learn that we are given a sort of a blueprint of life. And we are told that this is the blueprint that we have to follow. And following this, we will remain happy. And I was also given a similar blueprint in life. The problem was that somehow I could not follow the blueprint that was given to me. And then I thought that maybe I am not putting in the required effort. And you know, if I strive more, if I put more effort, maybe then I can be on the right path. But then all of a sudden, a question came up. And this question was that, what do I really want? What is it that I'm really seeking? And this question has come time and again to me. What is it that we really want? It came during that time when I was when 20 years back, when I was starting my professional career. This question came that what is it that you really want? And then, the answers were given to me. They never came to me, by myself. The answers were all given to me that, if you do well, you will reach a certain milestone in your career. You will attain this position, that position. All good, all fine. I worked for more than a decade. I worked in the corporate industry. But then again, there was never a finish line. So even when I became a manager, project manager, and I was handling a team, I was still given more goals. Now you have to become this. The process of becoming was never ending. And then, after some time, when I left the corporate world, and I had a spiritual insight which showed me a different dimension altogether. Even then, I, s- I started a path, I started a seeking, but this time it was of different nature. The quest was to understand myself. But again, it was not very clear as to what is it that one gets from that. So again, there were different answers like peace, calmness, compassion towards others, and this and that. And as this journey continued, and I started getting more and more insights on this path, still there was this seeking. There was this quest to know as to what exactly is it that I want. The only solution to this problem that I came across was that I had to accept totally and unconditionally that I do not know what I want, that I don't have a clue as to what I want in life. And somehow that was a very humbling revelation. Now, for most people, it confuses them when they don't know what do they want. But I was convinced that I cannot know what I really want. And somehow that brought an end to seeking. I didn't want anything, not even peace of mind, nothing at all. And I remember that at that time I said that I'm not going to study anything about non-duality or spirituality or anything for that matter. And I was just, I got involved in my regular mundane work and whatever I was doing back then. And then one day I noticed that I have been peaceful all along. That now those questions never popped up in my head about life, about meaning, about purpose, about achieving this, that, about becoming this, that. And somehow it was a big relief. And then it was clear that that is what the peace masters talk about. The peace that masters talk about is not a separate state, but it is called, Ramesh called it understanding in action. Another teacher, Sri Atmananda Krishna Menon, called it knowing in identity. And that knowing is operating here as this. If you see, your, this is the space in which, I mean, of course, it is a mental concept that this is a space. It is my mind that is projecting this as space. But this is all there is. This is there when you are awake, when you're dreaming, even when you're deep sleep. This never goes. The character may appear and disappear, but it appears in this and it disappears in this. When you recall yourself as a separate entity, that is also a thought which appears and disappears in this. Because if you see, most of the time when you are running around doing your work, you don't remember yourself as a separate person. Most of the work is happening automatically. The brain is trained like that. But only in between, when there is some sensation, there is some there is some heightened emotion, then all of a sudden this me comes up. I am feeling pain. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this sensation, that sensation. So these movements, they come up, but these movements are appearing in a space that is completely that is completely uh, that is actually the content. That is the arising. But at the same time, the arising is completely dependent on this space. But this space can also stand by itself. Example of that is deep sleep. In deep sleep, the space or the awareness is not aware of any object. So, what it witnesses is the absence of objects. In other words, absence of experience. So, the absence is seen in deep sleep. So, what remains is the pure experience, the pure knowing. And when this nature of oneself is revealed, then that awareness comes into the waking state as well. So, whatever content plays out in the waking state, whatever, when I say content, that is some sort of a happening, thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, whatever. It is understood that it is all happening in the background of this vast, infinite awareness. The screen of consciousness where all of this content is played out. But the screen is not separate from the content. The screen is the content. And at the same time, it is also the creator of the content. Which sounds paradoxical, but this is apparently what is happening. And conceptually, when I try to explain this process, when one's true nature is recognized, what happens is that before the insight happened, the individual with the sense of separate existence remains identified remains identified and immersed in the content of experience. So if there is an emotion, let's say anger, the individual remains tightly bound to it and says that I am angry, and also says that I should not be angry. And that actually further fuels the anger. Or it could be anxiousness, or it could be depression, or any other emotion. So the resistance keeps the identification with the sense of separation alive. And that becomes suffering. But when the when the insight happens and one realizes their true identity, then there is a shift. Again, I'm just giving you a conceptual model, but there is a shift. Now, all the content, that is the experiences that is happening, they come in the background, and there is a screen of awareness on the foreground. So the awareness of one's true nature, one's being, becomes a deeper reality than the content of the experience. And this is the direct shift in perception. Being is the first experience, the direct experience of one's reality. Generally, there are two approaches to this understanding. In one approach, there is the dual, the all separate God and the disciple. And Guru is the intermediary that connects the disciple to God. But for that, the Guru demands obedient faith. Now, for some people, that is their path. The other approach is the direct experience of reality, which, according to my experience, does not require the guru disciple relationship. But again, the direct path is for a selected few, the people who have come to some spiritual understanding. So, in this, there is no guru, there is no teacher, there is simply pointing, and there are lots of pointers. And the pointer is directionless. There is no particular way to point, but it is simply the pointing. But it is through your own experience that you see the reality. In other words, conceptual models are given. Conceptual models are the pointers, but your experience of reality, it has to come from within you, not from the outside, not from any authority. In fact, the guru disciple relationship in this path sort of becomes a hindrance because the disciple is an image, the guru is also an image. So sometimes it so happens that the disciple undertakes a journey and creates an identification as a disciple and then sees guru as a god figure and then leaves everything to the guru. So you see the disciple is not able to come out of that mindset while the guru is saying that what is in appearance is all illusion, it is not the reality. The guru is directly pointing to the truth. The guru is the truth. And the inner I, which is the God principle that reflects in each being, is the key to the supreme reality. So, in this path, rather than moving the attention outwards, one actually brings the attention inwards, back to that principle, the I principle. And when the I principle or I thought reverts on itself, then it does not have the space to move. The movement usually happens as I am this, I am that, which is the mind, which is called as, which is inferred as a mind. There is no such thing as a mind. But when I is still in all its purity, then that I is no I. It merges back into the source. Source, which can be said, to put it in other words, is consciousness at rest, which is the source and substance of everything. To know it is to know all. So once that is seen, the search for meaning, purpose, and all these things begins to dissolve. The reason being, once this eye has tasted the bliss of the pure consciousness, then it's never the same. There is a natural sense of detachment from all objects. And one learns to remain completely content and fulfilled in their by their own self, in their own self as the being. So the search for happiness in the objects, in the external objects, begins to dissolve as the true source of love has been recognized. One's own being is that love. It is not the worldly love that we speak of. It is simply the light which is animating all of this. The principle that shines within me is the same principle that shines within you, and there is no separation. Separation is only imagined by the mind. So, mind thinks that it is separate, and it begins the search for happiness. That is the standard answer for most of us when people ask us, what do you want in life? Happiness. Happiness through material fulfillment, happiness through spiritual fulfillment, happiness through relationships, through financial stability, this and that. But none of those things give true happiness. In fact, we find that we are getting more and more engulfed into the web of life. Now, it is not to say that it is right or wrong to pursue these things. We are not discussing it from that perspective. It is perfectly okay to live a householder's life. Even Ramana Maharishi said that this path does not require you to abandon your family or your goals and sit in a cave and meditate. In fact, this pathless path is all about integrating into life with full engagement, but less involvement. There is difference between the two. Engagement is the working mind in action. When you do a creative work, that is engagement. When you meet people, when you get involved in projects, that is engagement. The thinking mind is the ego mind, which is involvement, which is only concerned with the outcome. What will people think of me? How will they perceive my work? What will they think if I'm not successful in my work, in my relationships, if I don't have a good bank balance and this and that, my financial status, my security? Thinking mind, which is always a movement away from here and now. That mind is always thinking about a future, imaginary future, which is usually an image, a projection. So, thinking mind lives in fear. It lives in the anticipation of what should and should not be, rather than accepting what is. What is simply what is happening here and now. It is perfect the way it is unfolding. And whether we like it or we don't like it is a part of that. If we don't like it, we can certainly take steps to do something about a situation. But whether that will yield the result we want or not is not in our control. So the ego thinking mind is all about control. It is all about taking charge. So I guess we can conclude for now. I haven't taken any questions. Tomorrow at 8 p.m., we will again have a Zoom meeting, and then I can take your questions over there. If you want, you can join the Zoom meeting. If you're on my WhatsApp channel, then you will have the details of that. Thank you. Take care.